In this video, we're going to complete all of the fiberglassing at the stern of each of the hulls. So follow along and you will see all the steps involved. Everything is sanded and I'm planning out how to do the fiberglass, and instead of trying to do this entire stern in one fiberglassing session, I'm thinking that I'm going to first fiberglass the top step and down the back of the top step, just that only, and that will avoid the need for most of the fillets. I'll just need to put one fillet along where I've got that black line there, but all of these internal fillets in here, I will save that for another session. Even with a slow hardener, it is kind of warm in the garage, so anything that I can do to try to cut down the amount of time that this takes will greatly help. So I think doing this in 2 or more, probably even more sessions, because I'll have to also fiberglass these handles. So I think I'll have to treat those special as well. Anything I can do to break this up into multiple sessions is going to help. So yeah, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to now cut out some peel ply to fit over these two oddly shaped pieces of 1708 fiberglass, and go ahead and get these two pieces epoxied in place. To go into a little more details of the steps, the first thing I'm going to do is wet out the top of this, wet out the back here, and then I'm going to apply the fillet. And while that fillet is hardening a bit, I'm going to come over here to the piece of 1708 and wet it out on this piece of plastic, so that I can get the back side wet out, flip it over, get the top side, and then take this wet piece of 1708 fiberglass back to the stern of the boat, put it on, and roll out all the air bubbles. So that's the overview of what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do this individually on each hull separately, so that I don't have to worry about running out of time with the epoxy. Alright, I'm going to take the leftover thinned epoxy and thicken it up for the fillet. And there's also one more spot at the bottom that I missed earlier when I was filling in the holes, so I'll try to get that as well. I applied the thickened epoxy, and I had a little bit extra thickened epoxy that it seemed like a shame to waste, so I went ahead and put the thickened epoxy on the other hull over here. You may not be able to see it, it might be out of the camera frame. Now normally I like to put the thinned epoxy down first and then put the thickened epoxy fillets, but this is soaking into the wood just fine. I mean, it's not extremely dry or thickened epoxy, so it's able to soak into the wood just fine. So yeah, this is just a way that I can make use of some of that epoxy. And there's another thing here on the surface of this plywood, the bare plywood, we're getting some air bubbles. So this is the problem that you get with epoxying over bare wood, is you have to make sure that you account for outgassing, which is where you'll get air bubbles that form underneath the fiberglass, and those air bubbles are coming from gases that are trapped in the wood. So I'm going to go over these. That's another good reason to go ahead and pre-coat these, the bare wood first. It gives a chance for some of this outgassing to stop before the fiberglass is applied. And another good way to do this is to make sure that when you're doing the fiberglassing, that the temperature in your environment, in your garage or whatever, is going down and not up. So as long as the temperature is going down, you'll have much less problem with these air bubbles forming. Alright, so now I'm going to wet out this fiberglass over here. So I'll just pour this all on here. And get this wet out. I'll probably need to make some more epoxy, but I'm not making up very large batches at a time right now. Just make up a little bit, use it, and make up more as needed. Although that 3 pumps did not do much to wet this piece of fiberglass, so I'm thinking I'm going to mix up 4 more pumps, and the next one I'll just go with more right from the beginning. This piece of fiberglass is ready to go on, so it is completely saturated. The wood is wet out, so it can be applied just like this. When I put this first coat of epoxy to wet out the wood, I didn't take it as high along these overlaps as I probably could have. I was thinking, okay, I'll just come along and wet out the wood later. So this is going to work. But that's why now that the fiberglass is sitting down here, I can see exactly where it's going to overlap. Just apply a little bit of epoxy underneath there. Alright, let's roll this out. Any air bubbles, I'm just trying to push them to the edge. While I'm waiting for the fiberglass to cure on the first batch of fiberglassing, I figured I would start with the handles, actually fiberglassing the inside of the handles. So I measured out how long it would be to go all around the inside of the handle grip and cut a couple pieces of fiberglass to that length, and then also measured where the curves are going to be. And then I cut some slots here in the fiberglass for it to be able to make that curve. And the idea is that this part here would be along the inside of the handle, and this part out here will wrap around on the outside of the hulls and the inside of the hull as well. So yeah, so I'm going to get these fiberglassed in place. Here is the fiberglass that I put in place just now, and it kind of wraps around here at the top and comes down along the top of this step, and it goes down here. It also wraps around about an inch this way, about an inch that way, and it wraps around maybe 2 to 3 inches down here and about another 2 to 3 inches around this side. So I'm just waiting for this to cure now, and while it is curing, I'm going to start putting some fiberglass on the inside of the handles. I want to try to add a little bit extra strength here. So the first piece of fiberglass that I cut to go around the inside of this is cut so that it can overlap this edge, but I'm using biaxial fiberglass cloth, which means that the fibers are going 45 degrees like this and then 45 degrees like that. I think it will help if I cut a strip where the fibers are running all along the length here, at least as far as we can. So, and I'll probably have that one join here at the center of this side, so that the strip will start here, go around here, come around, and then come back up here to terminate. So let me show you how I'm going to cut that out of the fiberglass cloth. So here is the biaxial fiberglass cloth. It's 1708, and the fibers actually run this way, and then they run this way. And now that's not the chop strand mat. The chop strand mat is on the back. Those fibers are shorter and they go all different directions. But the main glass is strands that go along this way and this way. So by marking this out diagonally, we'll get some very long strands that go almost the entire length here. I say almost, I tried to get it to go the full length, but it looks like some of these fibers are curved, so some of them might exit here a little bit and be a bit shorter, but all in all they'll be a lot longer than if I was to cut them straight this way or straight this way. The epoxy is cured on the handles, and overall I'm very happy with this. Of course it'll need to be sanded and trimmed, but I made it quite thick, so these handles will be reinforced quite well, and sanding this down a little bit should not hurt it at all. So that's that part, and here is the fiberglass on the top step and down the back. It all looks very nice. Now you might be able to see a few white spots here and there. Those are okay. I'm not worried about that. They're actually tiny, either tiny air bubbles or tiny places where the probably the chopped strand mat did not completely get wet out, or it's just little air bubbles trapped in there. I'm not worried about that. Along this joint here, those bubbles are just where the peel ply did not fully make contact, and that can be sanded out. But the other hull has a bit of a problem. Let me show you that one. Here is the port hull, and we're looking at the top step. The back of the top step looks okay, no problem there, but there is one very large patch that did not get fully wet out. Another smaller one there at the corner or at the edge, and maybe three here that are a little bit bigger. Might even be able to call this two spots right here. So I'm going to need to grind this away and redo this top part because that's just too many and too large of problems there. So yeah, so this is what you're looking for when you're inspecting your fiberglass, is if you see any discolorations like this, lighter patches, those are areas where the epoxy is not fully soaked through or did not fully make contact with the the wood or the hull or whatever it is that you're fiberglassing over, and yeah, that needs to be fixed. So yeah, I'm going to be cleaning up. Here's the handle on the port hull, so I'm going to be cleaning up these handles and redoing this top shelf here. And I think to avoid extra complexities, I'm going to go ahead and put fillets in all of these inner edges here, all these inner corners, so that that's one less thing I have to worry about when applying fiberglass to the rest of the stern here. So alright, I will show you more once I have some of this ground away. I took off almost the entire fiberglass of the top layer here on the top step, and I just left the fiberglass on the edges. That was in good shape, except for that one little spot there which was close to the edge. And I think I will patch that up with more fiberglass, just another little piece of fiberglass put on the top. I'm not going to wrap it around the edges, and I'll do that when I do the other fiberglass. For right now, I'm going to do the fillets next, get all these inside edges filleted, and I also sanded off just a rough first pass. I'll need to come along on the inside of these handles, probably with the Dremel tool, and try to sand those a little bit, but at least I'm not going to poke myself with sharp fiberglass just by passing nearby the handles. So you still don't want to put your hands in there because there are little sharp pokey fiberglass pieces sticking out. So alright, yeah, next step is the fillets. The fillets are in place and the epoxy is cured, and it's now time to remove the peel ply. So always a fun and satisfying process. I used the Dremel tool with the tiny drum sander to clean up the inside of these handles, and while I was doing so, I uncovered quite a lot of imperfections. So getting the fiberglass to go around the various curves here was quite difficult, and you can see here there was a spot where I had to go all the way back down to the wood to remove that imperfection, and the other side's a little bit worse. Let me show you that one. So for this side, the inside here, I had to go down to the wood pretty much all along this, and even take it, this part here is also down to the wood. So yeah, a lot of sanding. I think it still can be used, so I don't have to remove all of this fiberglass, but yeah, all this will have to be refiberglassed. The starboard hull was much better actually, so I was able to leave quite a bit of fiberglass still on the inside, and let me show you the outside. Here's the outside. It actually turned out pretty good. So this one is almost perfect. There were very few delamination areas here that I had to sand away, so this side is pretty good. This is the next piece of fiberglass that I'm going to put on. It's a roughly triangular shape, and I held it in place, and from the other side I marked the location of the handles, both there and over here, and made a cutout there on that. So hopefully when I epoxy this in place, that will curl around the inside of those handles just fine. So I'm going to get these wet out now. Here are the two triangular pieces on the table, sitting on some plastic, ready to be wet out. And you can see here where I drew the oval openings for the handles, and then just cut a slot inside there and made a few extra cuts here, here, and here for that to be able to go around the curve. So yeah, let me get this wet out and see how this works. The fiberglass has cured, and all in all I think it worked out quite well. You can see it folded around this rounded edge very nicely, and here in the handle, what I was really looking for was just a slight curve coming in like this, because I've already got fiberglass on the inside here, so I just wanted this to join up nicely, and I think it did that quite well. And coming up here, it seems to have formed around this corner quite well. So all in all, I'm very happy, and what I've done after this is touched it up with a bit of a sander, and to take off some of the high points. I don't want to take it down too far, because that will start sanding away the actual fibers. So I just took it down a little bit to try to take off some of the high points. I did not use peel ply on this because I wanted to watch this as I was applying it, to make sure that there were no bubbles or anything like that. So I'm going to go over this with just a regular piece of sandpaper and my hands, so that it will try to get down inside this. So there's a texture to this because of the 1708. So there's parts here of the epoxy that are low spots that I'm going to try to roughen those up by just using some normal sandpaper. It's not like the peel ply texture. So the peel ply texture removes a lot of that texture, the woven texture from the 1708, and gives a very smooth and rough finish already. Without the peel ply, it ends up quite smooth, especially for those low areas. But all in all, I'm quite happy with this, and let me show you the other hull. Here's the port hull, and you can see here how the 1708 went around corners like this, with changing thickness from here down to here. It was able to form very nicely, no air bubbles or anything like that. And this handle also was quite nice. I just needed a little bit of forming around the inside bend there. And coming up here, all of this is quite nice. And here's the top of the step, with a new piece of 1708 on here that I have since sanded to just knock off the high spots. And again, I did not put peel ply on this. I'm glad I did not put peel ply on this, because after I had wet this out and it was fully bonded to this, I came back before it had cured, and I noticed there's, like right in here, there was a huge air bubble that had formed. And because it was not yet cured, I was able to roll that out. I'm not quite sure where the air bubble came from, but it definitely formed. And I think that's how I ended up with a large air bubble here. And previously, because I had peel ply on that, I missed that air bubble forming. So without the peel ply, it was very evident. It was visible that there was a big bubble there that I was able to remove before that cured. Otherwise, I'd be sanding this down again and reapplying another patch of 1708. So I'm glad I caught that. To sand the inside of these handles, I took a belt from the detailed belt sander and opened it up, and I've been taking that along here like this and back and forth all around here to sand the inside of these, and that's working out really well. And for the other parts, I've been using just a sanding block to knock down the high spots, and then to get to some of the low spots, just using a piece of sandpaper. This is just sandpaper that I've used previously on the block, and going over that, and it can get some of the low spots, but there's a lot of low spots it's not getting to, and especially inside the texture. And I don't really want to sand this down too much, because then I'll be sanding away the fiberglass fibers that I want to keep. So I found that a brush works pretty well, especially here in the corners like this. It's taking off the shininess. This is a lot of work, so I'm going to try this Dremel tool with a brush attachment and see if that can get inside all these little low spots and do it a lot faster and a lot more efficient. So let's try this and see how it works. Well, the Dremel tool with the wire brush is taking off some of the shininess, but I don't think it's roughing it up as much as I really want it to be roughed up. So I'm going to see if I can find another solution. Alright, so I'm going to try this wire brush on the drill. This is a lot stiffer bristles, so I'll need to be careful to not cut into the fiberglass, but let's see how this works. I'm going to try it at low speed. Alright, I like that a lot better. That seems to be getting into the low spots and roughing it up, and it's not taking away too much out of the high spots, so it should leave any fiberglass fibers fairly untouched. I don't mind if it takes a little bit of the fibers out, but yeah, I think this will work really well, so I'm going to use this wire brush on the rest of it and see how that works out. That wire brush worked out really well, and I could get all of these flat surfaces, a little bit of the curved surfaces as well. I wasn't focusing on the curved edge so much right now. More, I wanted to get this inside edge and the flat surface here sanded in preparation for fiberglassing along here. And the big wire brush worked really well. You can see it took out all the shiny spots except for, you know, leaving a lot of the fiberglass fibers, which is what I was looking for. Now, I could not get so close to the inside edges here, and I had to finish that off with some sandpaper. I tried to use the Dremel tool with the smaller wire brush, and it almost felt like that was polishing it instead of sanding it. So I stopped with that and just went for regular sandpaper for the places where the bigger wire brush could not reach. So with this, these surfaces here are all ready for fiberglass. So that'll be the next step. I need to measure a piece of fiberglass that will cover this entire back edge all the way up to these fillets. So this first piece is not going to wrap out any, it's just going to go right up to the fillet and right up to this edge, to the top edge, and down to this fillet, down here, wrap around here, and then go down this way. And again, it'll come just to the edges. So yeah, so that's what I'm going to measure out. And to get these angles like this, what I'll do is measure straight across, get that distance, and then just connect up a line to that point right there. I'll show you in just a moment, and that will get that angle right there. Here is the piece of 1708 that I have marked out and measured. This is the top portion, wrapping down the back. This will be the bottom step, and this is the final back piece here. And like I was mentioning, to get these angles like this, I just measured from this point straight across and put a little dot right there, and then just connected a line from this point down to that point to just get that angle. And then that made this angle. And I did the same thing to get this angle. I measured from this point here straight across, put a little point right there, and then drew the line there. So I'm going to cut this out now and dry fit it and see how well it fits. So I would say this is a fairly good dry fit. I'm liking how it fits here. I use this line coming down here as a straight edge all the way down and wrapping around this way. So yeah, this fits around this corner just nice, and coming out here it goes that way. Where I forgot and made a slight mistake is I made this coming out here that way, and it should have just come up just a little bit. And over here on this corner, when this folds down, because this edge is at an angle, this edge should have come out a little bit, but it's only off a little bit. This is the first layer, so I'll make sure that when I cut the next layer, which will wrap around the edge, I'll remember to fix that so that it's the right size. Yeah, a little bit of trimming here along this edge. Probably a little bit of trimming here along this edge, and yeah, I think this is a good dry fit for the first layer of fiberglass. Since I've got this one cut out, this was actually cut out for the starboard hull, so I flipped it around backwards. So this is the chop strand side sticking out right now, so this is backwards, and I want to test fit this on the port side to see if it is roughly the same measurements, and I think this will work. Again, I will need to fix this little corner down here, but yeah, this will work just fine here on the port hull as well. Here is the second piece for the port side, and I just laid the first piece down, not making it backwards, so I want to make an exact copy, and then I went along and traced the outside of the first piece, and then for the second piece I'm extending this another 2 inches. So this is where I will cut, and I'll cut inside the diagonals like this, and then this line will be the line where it folds over the edge. So again, there's a 2 inch all around here, the bottom. It'll wrap around the bottom, the sides. The only places it does not wrap around is the very top and this angled piece right here, that angled edge right there. So yeah, now I'm going to cut this out and test fit this one. After a little trial fitting and trimming, it seems to be fitting just fine. This is what I mean about this edge right here, and the top edge do not need to wrap around. Every other edge is bigger by 2 inches and designed to fold up and overlap a bit. So all the way down here, and it wraps around the bottom and it wraps around the side there. So this will be the second piece, and yeah, this is ready to go. So now I will do the same thing for the starboard hull, get the second piece measured and cut out with all of the extra tabbing. It's been probably almost 2 months now since I've been able to work on the boat. It's just been too hot, and there's a bit of background noise today because I have the air conditioner on. Finally, I just decided to run the air conditioner at nighttime to try to get a head start on cooling the garage, and then I've been running the air conditioner this morning for several hours, and I've managed to get the garage down to about 80 degrees Fahrenheit, which is okay. It's a little bit on the warm side, but it's not, I wouldn't call it hot in here. And I'm now working on fiberglassing the stern, and I started by wetting out all of the exposed plywood where the fiberglass is going to go. And let me show you the table here where I'm wetting out the fiberglass. You can probably hear the air conditioner a little bit louder over here. This is where the air conditioner is in the window, and I cleaned off the workbench and put a piece of plastic down, and I'm now using that to wet out the 1708 fiberglass. This is not yet wetted out, but I wanted to show you ahead of time. You can easily see places here where it is wet, and like along the edge here where it is still very much dry. And I'm just using this squeegee to help spread it around right now, and later I'll use the chip brush to try to get that epoxy resin fully saturated into this fiberglass. And this is the back side of the fiberglass, so this is the exposed chop strand that is currently up, and so I'm wetting out the fiberglass from the back side first. So alright, I'm going to put the camera down. I wanted to take a quick video here to show you the progress before I get too much epoxy all over my gloves. So yeah, so I'll show you, I mean, you've seen the fiberglassing before, but I wanted to show you kind of the initial steps here, and I will show you again later how it's going. Alright, I'm still working on the fiberglassing. It's been probably about 2 hours now, and I've just been focusing entirely on the starboard side, and I have 2 layers of 1708 and the peel ply, and I still need to put a little bit of peel ply around here. And one thing that I need to show you to be careful about is, for instance, right here I've got a air bubble that just keeps on forming, and maybe a couple of them here along this edge as well. So I just need to keep an eye on that and keep pushing that down to make sure that that air bubble doesn't cure like that. As long as I can keep pushing it down, it should be okay. And I think that was one of the mistakes I made previously over here on the port side when I got that large air bubble in here. Was it probably formed because of the outgassing, and I didn't catch it right away and keep pushing it down. So that's one thing that I'm going to make sure to do different this time. This looks like a little bit of a like a smooth spot here. What it actually is just some epoxy that drips, so it's a little bit sticky there. So it's just a drip of epoxy. But yeah, so after working on this for about 2 hours, my gloves were very sticky, so I had to go ahead and change my gloves anyway. So that allowed me to turn the camera on and show you a little bit of the progress so far. Alright, so I'm going to get to work on the port hull now. The stern of each hull is now fiberglassed completely, and I think I'm going to end this video here. This has been in the making now for a couple months, and I want you to see the progress. So yeah, I'm going to get this posted. All in all, it turned out quite well. I went ahead and put some peel ply on top here, even though I didn't put any new fiberglass. This was sanded down before, so I put peel ply here to give it the same texture as the rest back here. So so that'll work out. And all in all, I'm real happy with it. You can see the texture here underneath the peel ply. It's quite well. There is one spot that I'm a little worried about. Let me show you that. It's right, well, let's see, is it going to show up on the camera? Maybe. So right here is a bit of a light spot, and I can't really tell if that's going to be a problem yet until I get the peel ply off. So that's an area that I'll be looking at later to see if it is a problem or not. Here, if I back the camera up a little bit, you can see that it does look like a lighter spot than the rest of the area around it. So there might be some air trapped under there that I'll have to fix. The other places over here look very well. I don't see any problems with any of the other spots. So yeah, so I'm going to later get this peel ply off, and I'll continue from there. It may be a couple more months before I post another video, because you know, the temperatures are just really hot here. We'll see. If I have to do fiberglass work, then it may be a while before I can get another video out, but I might not be doing fiberglass. So we'll see what I do next, but I know I'm going to be turning the hulls over soon, so the next step might be just some regular woodworking. So yeah, I might be able to do that at any time. Doing the fiberglass is really important to avoid these air bubbles. I want to get it to where the wood is not outgassing, so I need the temperature in the garage to be going down and not up. And in the summertime, it's really difficult to find a reasonable time of the day where the temperature inside the garage is not increasing. So I managed to get it done today by just running the air conditioner almost all day, but I can't do that all the time. So alright, I'm going to end the video here and let you see the progress. Bye.